Good morning, everybody, and a happy Monday to you, wherever you are. My name's Rebecca, for those of you who aren't familiar with me, and I'm a QTT personal development coach and mentor and a homeopath. And I use all three of those methods to help as many people as I can to be as healthy and as happy as they can be and stay that way. And my Monday messages are part of my commitment to that. And what I do is I pop in here every Monday at 10 o'clock and I just share a thought, a simple technique, a little tip, maybe a focus for your week to help support you in living your life as peacefully and as calmly, as happily and as healthily as you can possibly do. So if you're joining me live, and I can see that there's a couple of people there, then do let me know that you can hear me okay, because it's pretty stormy out there. So sometimes that affects the quality of these lives. So it'd be good to know that you can hear me. And of course, if you're watching the replay, then you're very, very welcome. And either way, do leave your comments or just let me know who you are. Introduce yourself, that would be great. Okay, so today I was inspired by my thought today, if you like, I was just doing some research into communal living. Which is possibly something that a lot of us are thinking about these days for one reason or another. And I don't mean by communal living, I don't mean living with your family or living with friends necessarily. I mean a kind of organised, structured communal way of living. Where you get together with lots of different families or different individuals who all share a common set of values and a common goal, if you like, in terms of how they want to live their lives day by day. And I was looking at one of the oldest and most established of those communities, which is actually based in Scotland. And it's a community called Findhorn. And they run all sorts of talks and courses normally there. And they've been going for a long time. And one of the kind of central principles that appealed to me about it and is kind of essential, I think, if you're living as a community in whatever that community is to understand that whatever your spiritual practices are, whatever your emotional approach is to life, it needs to carry into everything that you do, really. And one of the phrases that one of the original founders came up with is that work is actually love in action. So work is love in action. And that really got me thinking about all sorts of things, actually. And I thought it was rather lovely because if we live in our heads and we understand all the personal development work, the spiritual progression, the emotional understanding that we're doing, and it stays in our heads and in our thoughts, and it isn't translated into our everyday actions, then I'm not saying it has no value, but it has a very limited value, because what we do on a daily basis is put those learnings into practice, literally. And I think what this founder of this foundation is a man called Peter Caddy, when he said this, that work is love in action, what he was referring to, I believe, as work, was the everyday tasks that are essential if you're going to live in community with anybody, kind of essential if you're living on your own as well. And he was talking ostensibly, I think, about things like gardening. So gardening from the aspect of being able to grow your own food. So the work that goes into that, preparing, planting, nurturing, harvesting, and then also the work that goes into preparing the results of that harvest for the community to eat. So the preparation and the cooking of the food. All the other kind of domestic things too that are kind of essential. So, cleaning, tidying, clothing, the care of clothing, whether that's mending, repairing, repurposing, making even, because we have to keep warm, we have to keep dry. All of those I think are what he was referring to, and anything else that needed to happen for the good of the greater community as well as the individuals within that community. So that's, I think, what he meant by work. I'm interested in what you think of as work, because the kind of juxtaposition of work and love for me was interesting, because it made me think about all the language that we use around those daily tasks, whatever they might be. And they don't have to be domestically based. They could be, doing whatever you need to do on a daily basis to earn a living. Minding children, all of that. Actually, when we think about it, when we pull back from it, from our work, they're nearly always ultimately about an expression of love. So when we are preparing food or growing food or gathering food, it's because we love the people that we're caring for, hopefully ourselves too. We love them enough to be able to want to give them the best that we can give in terms of nutrition and nurturing and food. And we want it to taste lovely. We want it to be vital to us. When we're doing even like loading washing and making beds and, all of that kind of stuff, we're not doing it because we love it. We're doing it because it's an expression of love. It's because, it's part of caring for others. But the way we do those tasks can often get a little bit disconnected from that ultimate goal. It becomes not necessarily an act of love when we're actually doing it. It becomes work. It becomes a chore. It becomes something quite heavy, something that we have to get through. Something that we have to, good morning, Ev. Now, I can't reply to you for some reason, but good morning, Ev, you're very, very welcome. I know that you know what I'm talking about here. But work, it's a very kind of loaded word, I think. And chores and tasks, and there's a kind of element of grinning and bearing it, something we have to do, something that somebody else has told us to do, that we have to get through. And that can be really hard. It can be difficult to bear when we're approaching it in that way. I know that where I came from, my family background, both my parents were survivors of the Second World War, if you like, and from that generation. And I think there was a very, very strong work ethic there. And it became kind of mixed up with value, self-value and self-worth. That if you weren't working hard and that it was somehow a bit difficult, a bit challenging, that it didn't have value, that you weren't really working. And I want to invite you to challenge that. Because if we are actually approaching everything that we do, remembering that we can choose to do it with that mindset, we can choose to go, oh, this is another thing I have to get through, or we can choose to do it wholeheartedly, knowing that we're doing it to be able to show somebody, even if that's yourself, love in some way. Then it puts a completely different mindset on whatever it is we're doing. And that approach affects not only the outcome of whatever we're doing, because we're much more likely, if we're in a framework of love, we're much more likely to actually be very mindful, to really give that task and that job our undivided attention, and to really work, if you like, at the best possible outcome of whatever it is that we're doing, rather than rushing through it and going, oh God, this is awful, I hate it, I've got to do it, let's just do it as quickly as possible, and get it over with. So I'm going to invite you this week to really just notice which one of those you're in when you're doing work of whatever description, and see if you can just turn it around, see if you can just rethink it and remember ultimately why you're doing it. Of course, question, if you're really not enjoying something, do you have a think about why you're doing it and whether you need to do it at all? But just to try and introduce an element of practicing the things that we kind of know consciously, we know in our heads, but put it into practice with every single action that you do, or at least some of them. It's a start. I'm not expecting overnight transformation, but just approaching things with love rather than seeing it as a chore or a task or some sort of, test. And once you do that and you start actually really loving whatever it is that you're doing, that your energy spreads out to the rest of the people that you're living with, and believe me, that affects their mood, because we all know if somebody's huffing and puffing and trying to do a job and not enjoying it and making a big song and dance out of it and feeling hard done by, that energy leaks out into the rest of us, and before we know it, we can all be in a bit of a bad mood and not really know why, unless we're conscious. So that's my invitation for this week, really, is to remember that phrase, that work is love in action, and see how you can apply it to as many things that you can. And once we are doing that, it ceases to be work. It's much more about love. I don't know, that's my take on it anyway. So I'm really interested in what you think, in what you think of as work. For me, it has quite heavy connotations of something that is difficult and that it's a form of, something you have to get through. So I try not to use work about everything anymore. But that's just me, maybe. Let me know what you think. And if you do want to know more about working with me, there's that word again, having a consultation with me, then do pop to my website, and the address is in the post with this video, and we can have a chat. You can register for a free call with me, and we can have a talk about how you can maybe reframe how you approach things and get much more enjoyment and love out of really everyday tasks. And Ev is saying she's looking forward to trying it. That's fantastic, Ev. Thank you. Look forward to hearing the results. And yeah, let me know how you get on. It would be great to see. I mean, we're all in lockdown again now, both here and in the UK. Well, I think the UK is from Wednesday, actually. So it's a really good time to be thinking about all those things that you do on a daily basis and how that could actually affect your first thought of the day when you open your eyes. You know, often we're thinking straight away about what you've got to do today. And if you're thinking about it in terms of how many opportunities do I have today to show love or to explore doing things that are pleasurable or give pleasure to somebody else, it's a very different thing from going, oh God, I've got this to do and I've got that to do and how do I get through it? So just trying to encourage you to reframe how you think about those tasks that you do. Okay, that's it. Have a lovely week and enjoy everything that you do in the best way that you can. Thanks very much for watching. Take care. Bye.